Government is unhappy with Friday's court order directing Home Affairs to grant asylum to 22 Afghan nationals. Minister Dr Aaron Motsoaledi says a certain American NGO is behind what he calls an attempt to undermine and further ambush South Africa's sovereignty. While government will be, of course, appealing this order, that's the question. Minister Motsoaledi joins me now to give us more clarity on what exactly is happening. Minister, thank you for your time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tumelo. Good afternoon to the viewers and listeners.
What exactly is going on here? And I would like to break it down because there is a U.S. non-governmental NGO involved from, a firm of lawyers presenting you, or at least these 22 Afghan nationals, with a letter. There are 22 people who came to the border saying they were, represented by their lawyers, who gave South Africa a letter that they may proceed to come into the country. So what exactly is going on here? Who are these lawyers? Who are they? Do we know them?
Indeed. I need to clarify that because it will be confusing, but also the issues we have mentioned have been overrun by events. I also need to clarify that about the issue of this court order. It's been overrun by some events.
All right.
Let me explain. I need to start, unfortunately, back in 2021. You may remember that in 2021, in August, the Americans announced that they are moving out of Afghanistan after having been there for 20 years. They further are reported to have said they are concerned and worried by Afghan nationals who were waiting for them, that now that the Taliban is taking over, it will victimize them. And they said it will be better to take them to the U.S. and give them permanent residency there, something which was said was very good. Well, look, we were seeing it in the news like any other nation. Little did we know what is awaiting us. In September of that same year, we received a letter addressed to the president, but copied to me and the Minister of International Relations from a lawyer practicing here in South Africa in Roodepoort, who is understood to have studied in the U.S., saying she is representing an American NGO. And she's informing us that the NGO has got 2 plane loads of Afghan nationals who are on the tarmac already in Kabul, and we must allow them to land in South Africa for asylum while they are waiting for the U.S. to vet them, presumably. Of course, we took offense. Why such a request can be made?
It's not more like an instruction. You must allow them.
Yeah, well, he said, I'm writing this letter to inform you that there are Afghans there, this is what you must do. It actually states what you must do, and it goes on then to lecture us about international obligations which we have entered into, and our own Refugee Act. It's a 2-page lecture about these obligations, etc. So we said, no, we can't accept this, and we ignored them completely, and nothing happens. Fast forward last week, on the 16th of February, our immigration officials at Beit Beach Brother Post in Musina, they received a letter from a group of lawyers, this time not from Roodepoort, from here in Melrose Arc, a huge legal firm, because they wrote all their names there to show that they are huge, saying, look, we represent 22 people. They don't mention their names. They don't mention nationalities. We are representing them. And in a short while, they will be arriving at the border post. We request you to prepare a transit visa in terms of Section 23 of the Immigration Act to allow them into South Africa to apply for asylum. While we're still surprised because people applying for asylum are not preceded by letters from lawyers and all that. When you apply for asylum, you are running away. You just appear there at the border, So this one was being prepared for by lawyers. But a short while later, a bus did indeed arrive at Beit Bridge, carrying 22 people who are Afghan nationals, but also 3 Americans inside. One of the Americans is a lady, went out into the building and said, look, we are applying for asylum. And he said, with an American passport, what? Then they said, he said, no, we have got 22 Afghan nationals here who need to apply because they are in danger from the Taliban. So the official said, bring one of them who speaks English. Let's understand this whole thing, because it was not they couldn't comprehend it. So the gentleman came in. When he showed them the passport showed that They've actually been in Zimbabwe for 30 days. They entered on the 20th of January. And now they are saying they are applying for asylum. And the passport also shows that they entered Zimbabwe via a visa. And the Zimbabweans said, no, this was a visitor's visa. They said they are on holiday when they came here.
Right.
And we gave them the visas at the airport on arrival. This is called visa on arrival. So anyway, our officials said, no, you can't go in.
You didn't give them?
Yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't allow them to go in. We said we are taking the bus back to Harare from Beit Bridge. The American lady protested strongly that she has already paid for everything, for the bus and all that. And anyway, that's a story, it's not ours. Then the following day, that's Friday, the 17th, they then appear at the border with a court order that say we must allow them in pending the hearing of the case on the 7th of March. But we must allow them in.
Right.
Yes. So our first shock was we don't remember being served with any papers. Because when somebody's suing you, they must give you papers.
So you hadn't received any documentation
no,
prior to
we hadn't. By that time, we hadn't. We just saw a court order. Then when we checked, we found that, oh, something terrible has happened, which we believe was deliberate. The court case was sitting here in Pretoria. They came here to Pretoria. But they served the documents to a junior official at Beit Bridge through an email. It's an official who doesn't sit in the office because he's a supervisor at the border. He moves around. So they sent these papers, they served them to him on the email, and then he discovered them 4 hours later that, oh, here is an email that were suing us. When he conducted Pretoria, they were already back from court, where they showed the judge that we served these people 4 hours ago, they never responded, and the judge gave them the order. But we believe or suspect that the judge might have seen that there's something fishy here. So while giving the order, he also said he's giving us 24 hours in terms of rules of anticipation. These are legal jargons that we must come to court within 24 hours and anticipate the 7th of March. So we did go on Saturday to court and said, no, we are not implementing this, judge. These are our reasons. And they were saying we are in contempt of court. We argued it for about 3 hours, and the judge ruled that, no, we shouldn't implement it. He will rather recall the date of the 7th, bring it forward to today. So as I'm sitting here at 4 o'clock, we are sitting in court now, in a full court, no longer for an interim order to hear the whole story.
Minister, with that being said, what do you think could be the intention of what happened here, you know, from the lawyer's side, from the Afghanistan national side? Because you call this more of an undermining and ambush to South Africa's sovereignty. But in your view, what could be the motive behind what you've just shared with us right now?
Tumelo, it's difficult to know the motive. But what I could tell you, I think we are being undermined. There's a belief that everything in South Africa obtains. You can go there and do whatever you want at any time you want. The constitution and the legal system of the country will allow you to do so. And that's basically what, because how, if it's true that the people are being persecuted, why cross so many countries and even enter Zimbabwe and spend 30 days there and come here? In court, the lawyers produced a document written in Arabic, not translated, but written in Arabic. And they say, I can't remember whether they said it's a death warrant or a warrant of arrest, but something to that effect, that it comes from the Taliban. It shows that these people are in trouble. It's not translated. We don't even know the authenticity of it, but they produce it in court, that these people are in danger. Now, in court, something also very funny happened. They tell the judge, something very funny was uttered. They tell the judge that these people were in Pakistan, and the Taliban went to Pakistan to attack them. That's why they had to leave. And my question is, now does it mean they're saying, let them come to South Africa? When the Taliban attacks, it must attack South Africa? Because we all know the Taliban, yes.
So those are your worries, those are your concerns?
Of course.
You might be calling more problems for the country.
If I bring many people here with all this crime that is going around, and the Taliban said, oh, if it's true that they are really looking for these people, and they come and say, oh, so South Africa has helped them, let's go there. What am I going to say to the population? What am I going to say to South Africans? That I allowed people here who don't know, and now they are crossing crossfires, maybe there will even be suicide bombers and suicide bombs and all that. I can't take such a chance.
But Minister, what do you make of that perception that South Africa, in your words, may be perceived as a country where you may come in and do as you please, try and undermine or even manipulate processes that one has to follow legally to be in the country? When you introspect as the Home Affairs Department, where do you think that perception comes from?
Of course, we introspected.
Yeah.
And we believe we must do a overhaul. I've already announced that many times to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, that we need an overhaul of the whole immigration system of the country. For that reason, during the policy conference of the ruling party, I took a document there of a new policy position about the issue of immigration. It was accepted in June. In December, it was finally endorsed by the National Conference, which means we can now develop a policy, a white paper on immigration, starting with a green paper. We have started. And in the proposal, we're saying the whole Citizenship Act of South Africa of 1995, the Refugee Act of 1998, and the Immigration Act of 2002 need to be reviewed and overhauled. And that's exactly what we have presented, and that's what we are busy doing. So I'm answering your question that are we doing introspection? We definitely are.
So in terms of timelines, can you almost confirm when that will be adopted, when it will be in full effect? Because in the meantime, while you're busy working on the green papers and the white papers, I'm not sure if they are red papers and purple papers, unfortunately, you will continue to be undermined as the Home Affairs Department. Chances will continue to take chances.
I know what we mean. Green papers, white papers, etc. They do take time because it means you are talking to society, you are asking them, what's your view? For instance, one of the things we want to look at, this issue of linking marriage and immigration, where you are saying, look, if you marry this woman, you're going to get South African papers. What are you saying to the man? He jumps in and marries you, not for your love, because he was told if he marries you, he'll get South African papers. When he gets them, he no longer loves you. He starts abusing you. So should we be doing that? Many countries don't link marriage and immigration. It's just one of the things we want society to start debating in the green papers and white papers. And of course, there are no red papers. Yes, so we are definitely going to do that. But in the meantime, remember, one of our weaknesses is that we're not managing our borders. So I'm sure you are aware we've got the Border Management Authority, and we just hired the first cohort of 200 border guards in July last year. That's why we're able to stop things like this. And when I look at the manner in which these people came and the manner in which the lawyers took up this thing, is because over a long time they were believing South Africa is open game. Yeah, they were careless, it's open game. Now we are saying that open game is over. Yeah. So we'll make sure that we manage the borders in the meantime, but also we're opening our eyes to the legal system. There are many times when Home Affairs lost cases on immigration in court simply because they were not even aware that we were supposed to be in court or were not well prepared. This time around, Tumelo, we no longer do that. On Saturday, we spent the whole day preparing for that court case that started in the afternoon. Yesterday, the whole day, we're sitting with lawyers, preparing, getting information from all over to make sure that when we are go to court, we are ready. So in the meantime, while the green papers are still being developed, we will be doing something like that.
I have to let you go. Before I do, though, we're just talking about the 22 Afghanistan nationals and their lawyers' involvement in Beitbridge border, but there are many other borders where, the activity is brazen. They don't even come with documentations or with the backing of lawyers. They simply cross over. You've seen these visuals. We've been there with you, with some of our reporters, watching as some cross borders. What are you also doing about that, where, the crisscrossing seems to be quite easy on our border posts with members of the SNDF present there?
Well, that was before we launched the Border Management Authority. That was before we hired the 200 border guards. And by the way, we are hoping that by April we'll hire another 400 to augment them, and we'll keep on doing so. That was before that. And by the way, last week, I'm sure you are aware, that Parliament issued, endorsed a bill on one-stop border post for public comments to try and deal with this type of things. The one-stop border post is going to serve a purpose of fortifying in terms of infrastructure, what is happening at the borders, but the manner in which people cross in and out of the country will also be in that one-stop border post principle. It's a very important one, so I think you were right. But what you might have missed is that in December, we got phone calls from journalists who were worried because every Christmas and after New Year, they see a lot of activity at the borders, congestion and all that. And this time they saw nothing and they were worried and they were saying, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And I said, you should be asking us what's right. What is that which we have done? It's because we have got a better management authority with a commissioner who is at the same level and status as the commissioner of police, but jurisdiction border, unlike the commissioner of police who has got jurisdiction all over. And he has got two deputy commissioners, one for operations at the border and one for corporate services. Then there are these 22 border guards, well-trained and all that. So we are doing something at the borders.
Minister, I have to leave it there. I appreciate you coming into studio and talking to me about this. Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, Minister of Home Affairs, right here on All Angles.